Welcome to the channel. Today we're going to be talking about recent tensions between Webtoon, a webcomic publisher, and its creators/artists who are the ones making the content that Webtoon publishes. Just a caveat before we begin, for the first half of this video, I'm not going to tell you who to root for, who's right, or anything like that. The purpose of this video, or at least the first half, is to inform, and I'm going to try and keep my own biases out of it until the second half. First, for those who don't know what webcomics are, I don't know how you found this video, but basically there are comics that are designed to be read vertically and are typically published on the internet. The purpose of the vertical format is to allow for a better reading experience on mobile, so you can just keep scrolling, and it's made to be very easy to consume and enjoy on mobile. To really understand the current tensions between Webtoon and its artists/creators, we have to first explain Webtoon's origins. So, Line Webtoon was launched in 2004 by South Korean corporation Naver. Naver? I don't know. If you don't know who they are, suffice it to say they're huge. They're basically the Google of Korea, okay? Billions of dollars of revenue every year. So, Line Webtoon was launched in 2004, but it took until 2014 for Webtoon to launch overseas. They had a clear 10-year plan in place, and you can see that here. Like the first arc of the Marvel Cinematic Universe, it has 4 phases, so let's dive into it. First, we have Phase 1, 2014 until 2016. Webtoon's focus in this time period is on the creators. They tried their best to make their platform as enticing as possible for creators. And that makes sense. You need content for your users to read. If users show up and there's no content on the platform, they're just gonna leave. At this point, they have plenty of Korean-made webcomics to translate and bring over to their international platform, but that's not a viable long-term strategy. They needed international creators, so they did what they could and went out to get them. Phase 2, 2017 to 2019, user growth. So they'd spent the last few years doing their best to try and woo creators. Now it was time for them to do the same to get users to consume the content. They focused a lot on platform usability and accessibility. So far, I'd say that everything has gone pretty swimmingly for Webtoon. They had insane growth. All of their moves were things that everyone associated should love. But at every point in their lifetime, every content platform has to start monetizing. Okay? And even for the strongest and healthiest of content platforms, that's usually where cracks begin to show. Monetization is something that every single content platform ever made has struggled with at some point or another. Even behemoths like YouTube have struggled with it. Just look at the firestorm at Twitch right now. If you're watching this well into the future, Twitch just announced that they're moving all of their creators to 50-50 revenue splits. This is a really big deal because some of their biggest partners had 70-30 splits. Everyone's really mad about it. So yeah, monetization is a bitch. But it's unavoidable. That's where Phase 3 comes in. 2019 to 2021, monetization. Webtoon implemented a payment model with coins that you could use to unlock chapters. Each coin is about 10 cents, and chapters typically cost anywhere from 4 to 8 coins to unlock, depending on a number of factors, including the specific comic that was being unlocked and chapter length. Now, chapters don't stay locked forever, at least while they're still serializing. The payment model is more of a read-ahead system where typically one chapter is unlocked for free every week, and the paid chapters are anywhere from 5 to 10 to hundreds of chapters ahead. A lot of people weren't quite happy about this. Some people thought that the coins were too expensive, some people wanted a subscription model, but for the most part, people understood why the payment model was implemented, and most people were okay with it. Not happy about it, but, okay with it. That brings us to the present. Phase 4, 2022 to 2024. Industry. They're looking to expand the web comic industry. That means forming partnerships with companies in and adjacent to the industry. That means forming partnerships with comic studios and TV production companies, film companies, merchandising companies, print publishers, and games. Okay? Games. That's all really cool, right? We've seen Webtoon already collaborate to make animes for Tower of God, God of High School, and no God in the name, just Noblesse. But their partnerships might lead to even bigger things in the future. We might see a Tower of God video game come out, or maybe we'll get a Lore Olympus TV show. Who knows? But that potential is out there, and that's really, really cool. But here's the thing. Webtoon is industrializing the webcomics industry. And while that typically leads to incredible opportunities for those at the top and for those with the money and resources to take advantage, individual creators are probably going to find it pretty hard to stay relevant. Let's go look at YouTube, just as another content platform that's gone through all of this. Do you remember old YouTube? I'm talking old, okay? I'm talking Fred, I'm talking Niga Higa, I'm talking Ray William Johnson, or if you want, you can go even before that. But the point is, YouTube used to be dominated by individual creators who were just that, individuals. Most YouTube channels, even the most famous ones, were run by 1, 2, maybe 3 people. There were exceptions, of course, but by and large, YouTube was dominated by small creators. But over the years, that's clearly changed. Just look at some of the top channels. Sure, PewDiePie might be an individual creator, but he's got an entire team working behind him to help him with his channel. Last time I checked, Mr. Beast has more than 50 to 60 people working for him. Linus Tech Tips has a veritable army of employees stealing tech from his office. So it's not to say that individual creators can't do well on YouTube, and many certainly do, but their heyday is definitely over. And I think that's what's happening at Webtoon. With all of that in mind, let's get into the specific pain points artists have brought up with their disagreements with Webtoon. The shot heard all around the world here was an open letter by the creators of a Webtoon published webcomic called Lovebot. The creators, Chase and Miranda, wrote an open letter to Webtoon and posted it on Twitter. I'll share the link to the letter in the description of this video. But the letter basically comes down to a few things. One, Chase and Miranda still appreciate Webtoon and wrote the letter in hopes that it would spur positive change and, in their eyes, basically save the company from itself. Webtoon's communication with their creators has been sparse and inconsistent. Webtoon doesn't provide its creators with enough data for them to know how their series are doing. This one is a pretty huge problem because without hard financial data, creators don't have the insight to know if they're being scammed or underpaid. Now, opinion, I don't think Webtoon would underpay or scam their artists on purpose, but the creators are being placed in an unenviable situation where they kind of just have to believe that Webtoon is properly tracking how much money they're making and that they're paying them fairly. Not great. 4, minimum revenue threshold. As far as I can tell, this is what Webtoon calls an advance payment. This is something popular in the publishing industry where authors are typically paid an initial amount when their book releases, say, I don't know, $2,000. They have to earn back this $2,000 before they're paid any more money. Here's an example. Let's say the author agreed to some fairly standard terms, okay? An advance payment of $2,000 and a 10% royalty on sales, okay? The book would have to earn $20,000 so that the author's 10% makes $2,000 before the author would get paid any more money. So Webtoon artists are paid a certain amount of money when each chapter is completed. This is an advance payment that they have to earn out before they make any additional money from their work, mostly from the coins that we mentioned earlier. The issue is that with how populated the platform is getting and with how little advertising each comic gets on the platform, it's getting harder and harder for many creators to hit that minimum threshold. It might be a little more complicated than that, as the letter says that Webtoon is constantly changing what counts toward the minimum revenue threshold, but unfortunately we don't have any more information there that I can give you, so sorry. The next issue is that creating comics professionally is very much a professional full-time job. And it's not just a 40-hour per week job either. You're living it, okay? According to the open letter, many creators make less than $300 for a 40-panel episode. They're paid more originally, to be fair, but a lot of them need to pay out of their own pockets for assistance so that they can hit their release schedules, which is usually weekly. Most Webtoon originals publish on a weekly schedule, and if you don't know, it's basically impossible for an individual artist to create a quality 40-panel episode week after week without any help. So, yeah. Number 6, the open letter continues to say something quite interesting. It says Webtoon could be something credible. In 2019, it seemed like it was a game changer, but something in the last couple of years feels less and less like we're working with Webtoon, and instead are being bought in with promises they can no longer fulfill or don't wish to. Do you remember what phase they started in 2019? I'll give you a hint. It's that money phase. Monetization. Anyway, the rest of the letter basically says that they're still hopeful that Webtoon can turn it around and better support its creators. The same day, a Twitter account named Webtoon Exposed was made, and they dropped some bombs, including how much money the average Webtoon creator gets paid as an advance payment per chapter. I won't say the exact numbers that were provided because that Twitter account got deleted and I don't want this YouTube account to get deleted. But let's just say it wasn't exactly a wonderful amount of money, especially when, additional costs are there, such as the hiring of assistants and the like. Many other creators have spoken up in the last few days, bringing other issues to light. Here's just a few of the ones that stood out to me. Creators are paid by the chapter. This is an issue because when you're creating a story, any story, there's usually 3 phases. The first phase is the idea forming or the imagination phase. This is where the creator first comes up with the idea they want to explore and make, and they start creating the pieces of the puzzle that they're going to put together. The second phase is the outlining or planning phase, where the creator starts fitting the pieces of the puzzles together. They're, planning out the arcs, thinking about exactly how the characters interact, all of that stuff. And then the third phase is the actual creation of the story. With the current system, webcomic creators are only paid for the creation phase. That being said, as far as I'm aware, at least some Webtoon original creators are paid a certain amount of advance/MRT money on signing. If you're a Webtoon creator, let me know if this is true in the comments, please. I don't have any evidence to substantiate that, but that's what I've heard. Certain editors seem to be able to get their creators more advertising on Webtoon. As such, the webcomics they manage seem to do better than others, which Webtoon management likes, so the editors' works continue to get more advertising. It makes sense to an extent, back to winning horse. But some of the other horses or webcomics aren't getting a chance to thrive because of the system. Webtoon has responded to all of this in a few ways. They've arranged for discussion with the Lovebot creators. They've released a creators update answering some of the things that were brought up in the open letter. They also say that they're creating a system that will provide better, more automated updates to creators. They hope to introduce the feature in 2023, but they have a lot of language in there that suggests it probably won't come out until 2024. They also provided an explanation regarding the minimum revenue threshold. It's basically the same information I gave you guys already. MRT is just in advance. They also wrote a bunch of stuff about how they promote all originals, but it's basically just an explanation, like I said earlier, that while they hope every Webtoon original finds success, they have to back the winning horses because that maximizes profits and overall success for the platform and the industry. I will include a link to their response in the description. I've done my best to give unbiased information so far, but fair warning, we're venturing into personal opinions land now. I think that no matter what happens as a result of all of this, individual webcomic creators are probably going to get phased out at some point. If you're an individual creator who loves making webcomics but is worried about their future in the webcomic industry, I'd suggest starting a studio or maybe in partnership with some like-minded artists. You're going to want to band together. If you just want to make art and you hate the business side of things, try finding a comic studio that's run by creators or former creators, or at least try pitching your webcomic to a company that's not Webtoon and then let that company, deal with all the bullshit with Webtoon. That being said, you have to be careful about the companies you choose for that as well. No matter if you're a current webcomic creator who constantly feels like death because you're being overworked, or you're an aspiring webcomic creator with bright and shiny eyes, Remember to properly negotiate when the time comes, okay? As the industry currently is, Webtoon is really the only option for a lot of webcomic creators if they want to be able to do it for a living. But Webtoon actually, believe it or not, needs you as much as you need them, or as much as you need their money. They can't translate Korean webcomics into other languages for their international audiences forever. They need international content creators to grow. Do you think the amount they're willing to pay you is low? Negotiate. Think the schedule they're asking for is unreasonable? Negotiate and set boundaries, realistic timeframes. Make sure you establish those up front. They're not going to be happy about it, to be fair, but that's their issue, not yours. Do you not have experience negotiating? Find someone who can. Find someone who does, and get them to help you. Something I think the webcomic industry sorely needs is agents, because let's be honest, a lot of webcomic creators are young, creative minds. They don't know what amount of payment is fair, they don't know how much they're worth, they don't know what to look out for in contracts. And not trying to be mean here, but I'm willing to bet that a fair amount of webcomic creators signing those contracts for the first time probably don't get proper lawyer counseling either. I might sound like I'm being mean to creators here and calling them idiots, but I'm not. Trust me, I'm not trying to. It's just that it's reality that when a young creative feels noticed and appreciated by a large, famous company, the shining lights and the warm fuzzies can be quite distracting. And when someone in that mindset is negotiating with the experienced, tough contracting team at a large company like Webtoon or Tapas, that's just not a fair fight. As someone who's been on the creative side for most of his life, but is more so on the business end now, to be clear, I definitely feel for the artists. But at the end of the day, Webtoon is just another content platform. And just like with any other creative field, the top 1 to 10% is probably going to make away with 99% of the profits. This is and has been the case with books, TV shows, movies, games, everything. And it would be awesome if all webcomic creators made a ton of money and everyone was supported properly and all of that, but that's just not something that's going to happen. Now, some of the issues Webtoon's artists have brought up in all of this can definitely be fixed and should be fixed. For example, Webtoon can definitely do a better job marketing their new original releases, okay? Especially more equally. I understand backing the winning horse, but my personal opinion is that all new series should be given a proper chance. If the starting lines are different, you can't expect the finish lines to be the same as well. Better statistics and financial reports for creators is something that Webtoon can definitely do, and thankfully it sounds like they're already building a system for it. In my opinion, they should have done so a long time ago, probably sometime before Phase 3 monetization, but hey, at least they're doing it now. I honestly don't think that the MRT/advanced payment system is a problem. The way Webtoon is implementing or changing it could be an issue, but the public and I don't have enough information to judge there, so don't know. But advances in general are fairly common in the creative industry, and most of the time, for books at least, the advance doesn't pay out, so the author actually comes out ahead. I don't know how that is for webcomics, but I'm working with what I got here. If you don't want to deal with MRT advance payments, I would say try to negotiate for no advance payment but a higher royalty share. The reasoning behind advances is that the publisher, in this case Webtoon, is taking on a financial risk by giving you all of this money beforehand. And therefore, they should be rewarded for that risk with the royalty percentage that they take. With the advance out of the question, maybe you can get a higher royalty percentage. Bet on yourself. I'm not saying they'll say yes if you say, present them with that option, but it doesn't hurt to ask. Communication, I think a lot of this can be attributed to how fast Webtoon is growing as a company. They're probably a lot bigger than you thought. They have somewhere close to 700 employees, probably more at this point. As far as I can tell, their workforce grew by about 20% just last year. And anyone who's worked with a company that grows that fast, or honestly has worked in any kind of office environment, will probably tell you that smooth transitions of work and communication and all that is just really hard. It's almost always imperfect. Now, just because it's possible for Webtoon to improve on these fronts doesn't mean they will. We'll have to see if they do. But some other things like supporting individual creators, I honestly think the heyday of individual creators on Webtoon is starting to end. And I don't know if it's going to get any better. I don't think it's going to come back, honestly. My personal opinion is that Webtoon production is going to grow increasingly industrialized and studio oriented instead of creator oriented. And for the creators who say that there's too many webcomics on Webtoon and it's getting really congested and hard to stand out, that's probably not going to improve anytime soon either. Webtoon's not about to start taking content off the platform. But I don't think that's a problem. After all, Amazon has millions and millions and just so many books for sale on their platform. And even the newest, most indie of authors are able to, occasionally find success on there. The problem with Webtoon right now isn't the amount of webcomics they have on the platform, it's discoverability. And that, fortunately, is fixable. I think that's it for me. Thanks for watching. What else in the world of webcomics would you like for me to explore and comment on? As you probably noticed, this is a very new channel, and I'm going to try and do deep dives into individual webcomics, platforms, just about anything in this, niche. But if there's anything more specific you'd like for me to cover, let me know, and see you next time.